Okay. All right. Okay, good night, everyone. Once again, we're starting we're starting over. And once again, Florencia Chang-Ageda on Facebook, on YouTube. My YouTube channel is, my name is Flo, F-L-O, Chang, C-H-A-N-G hyphen A-G-E-D-A. So that the hyphen is a dash. So there's a dash in between. So as I said, I want to talk to you about preparedness. You know, sorry, what's happening in Maui has, like, I don't know, but that has actually struck a chord. You know what I mean? I remembered, and I tell you why. Because in the building in which I live, I remember there were a couple of occasions on which there was smoke. Once the smoke just crept in under the door, and because of a fire that was in another tenant's apartment. And it is really very scary, especially when there is smoke all over the building. And so when I think of the people in Maui and, the situation, the gravity of it all, like the death count is growing. Last count that I read was 80. 1,000 people are missing, and 12,000 people have been displaced from their homes. A whole town is gone. There were rows, lines of people trying to escape in their vehicles, but the fire came down the hill. And the reason why they said, with the wind factor, the thing is the wind pushed the fire down the hill. But before I get there, this is all from what I've read and certain videos that I've seen, and the news that I've heard. And I was reading, an account that said the residents there, their siren wasn't working by the time they realized the gravity of what was going on, and that this was not a brush fire, because that's what the residents were told earlier in the day, that it was a brush fire. And so people went about their business. But then once the afternoon came and there are plumes of smoke, then, by that time, I think they said that, by the time they tried to alert the community, their siren was no longer functioning. Folks couldn't receive texts on their phones. And so there were people who had to jump into the ocean. There were people who ran and sought refuge on hills or mountainsides. And it's just atrocious what happened there. And that a whole town is gone. And think about that, a whole town. And I think about like the community in which I live, and the borough of Brooklyn, and you think about Queens and Staten Island and the Bronx, or other states, or, and like, how prepared are we? Like, what really happened? And their hospitals are overwhelmed, not enough. They're not prepared with the necessary machines and services that need to be, like oxygen and and whatever it is that folks are needing. They're not prepared. So how prepared are we? Well, I live in New York, and I know in New York there is a brochure that is entitled Ready New York, My New York Emergency Plan. And you can go to NYC. Let me tell you where you go. You could go to NYC.gov, and you can get the @Notify NYC you can actually sign up for it. When you go, they, now they do have QR code for everything. So you can actually go to the website and request this Ready New York magazine. And it tells you, you have to make a plan, you have to gather supplies, and you have to get informed. Not you, I shouldn't say you, we have to make a plan, we have to gather supplies and get informed. So be aware, be alert of floodings, or if there are fires or earthquakes. Did you know that New York actually get earthquakes? And many of them, it's just that they're so small that we don't really feel it, right? But God forbid any disaster should come here, that we need to be prepared. So we have to let our families know. We should always choose a friend or relative out of the area to say, if everybody is at work, at school, to know where we'd meet up, so we have to find a place close enough to where we live, right? And then a place, if it's really bad and you can't stay in the area, a place further out, so that we can always reach out. Everybody should have the same number. So the moment anything happens, the moment anything goes down, we can all call that one person and check in. So that's our check-in point. And that person can be out of the area where there is nothing happening. So everyone, and the kids, your kids should have this number, spouse, everybody in the family should have that number, so that by the time anyone calls that person can say, well, hey, I've heard from family member A, B, and C, but I haven't heard from D, or I've heard from all of you now that you're calling, and this is where A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, the amount of people that's in your family, this is where they are. And take into consideration that when there are disasters, when there are emergencies, we tend to get discombobulated or flustered. Most people, there are some people who still can maintain that calm, but for the most part. So here's what we need to do. We need to, God forbid, anything happen where we have to leave our homes, that we should always pack a go bag, right? And I'm going to get to what's in the go bag. But before the go bag, we should always, if you are on medication, if you have any kind of impairment, so that if your sight is limited or not, or if your hearing is impaired, or your sight is impaired, that maybe have some index cards, have things written down, store things, the things that you'll need in a Ziploc bag, so that whoever's assisting, or maybe you may know where it is, or you can reach to the door and yell out at someone if you're home. And in that bag, you should make sure you have medication, but if you don't have medication, always keep the names of the vitamins that you're taking, and it's important that you have vitamins, because remember, vitamins can be contra to something. So if you have to go to the hospital, some vitamins like vitamin D specifically, and others, but not usually C, but K, remember, for those who have it's a clotting vitamin. So you should always have the names of every supplement that you're taking, right? That way, God forbid, as I said, the doctors or the nurses at the hospital, God forbid, if you have to go, would know what, especially with elderly parents and family members, that should be done. So you have the names of the medication. The other thing that you should have is the name of the pharmacist, that just in case you are not, that you can call your pharmacy and they can probably reach out to another pharmacy where you are. So if you left your medication that you need, you can have your medication. But you should, especially if it's a blood pressure medication or diabetes medication, you should always make sure you have that in a Ziploc, just in case, God forbid, you have to go, because those are medication that you might just need to take because of the flight or flee, fight or flight adrenaline that is that comes up because of what you're going through. And so to have, as I said, the information, name of your doctors, their phone numbers, name of the pharmacy, the pharmacist's number, right? These are numbers that should be in this plastic or Ziploc or, something that you can literally see through, and to make sure that you have that. That is important for you to have. The other thing is to have also the names. And if you have pets, you have to have a go bag for your pet as well, like food, water, and if your pets are medication, that too. So you have to have, you should always know the contact numbers, and have a place that, some folks, they've said when they came and made a presentation to our board, they said store your go bag by your door or someplace close to your door so that you can grab it and go through the door, right? So if you're using medical equipment, like if you're asthmatic or if you need oxygen, that's something, if you can have an extra on hand so that just in case you can't take that, you can pack the other in the go bag. And these are some of the suggestions just to be safe. Now, and also make sure that have a list, where you list your allergies, right? And the essential, sorry, this is very necessary, that not just the name of your medication, not just the name of your vitamin supplements, but also the dosage. Dosage is important. You have to have that. And also you should have your insurance card. Okay. And most people usually have that in their wallets anyway, but sometimes you stick it someplace else. Your passports, you should have that handy, your social security cards, things that you'll need, that you don't need to go through red tape to replace it, to have those with you. So those are some of the things that should be in that quick, the plastic bag that you're going to keep someplace near to your route of escape. Now, there is a card, I don't know if you can see it, and it shows you, right, to make a plan, gather supplies. You'll have the meeting place on it, the meeting place that's close to your home, meeting place that's in your neighborhood, emergency contact, doctor's number, other contacts, and hurricane zone. So they've done this for hurricanes, but just in case anything else, God forbid. And then you can stick it on your refrigerator that every family member see it. And you should have family meetings to say, hey, we need to know this, that, you and have your children know, so that this is something that, they can tell their teachers, who can help in case of an emergency. And, you give the school your emergency information anyway, like who's supposed to pick up your child in case of an emergency and who's not in case of an emergency. So if your life is in danger, you have to know how to evacuate, right? And if you smell gas, you must always evacuate immediately. There is no ifs, ands, or buts, and then you'll dial you'll dial 911. There are certain calls where you'll dial 311 if, to get information. But when you have the Ready New York City app, it will tell you what's happening. Also, you should know modes of transportation, how to get where you're going. I mean, New Yorkers are pretty savvy though, but just in case, not if you're used to always driving, sorry, if you're always you're used to driving, then maybe you should, maybe get now everything you can get it on your phone, but I always say, this is me, always say, get something in black and white. You know what I mean? And print, because print you can have on you in case, God forbid, your phone goes out, you have that in print, right? So now, your go bag. So this is the page that shows you. So you can have like a knapsack, or you should have a first aid kit. If you wear glasses, if you need glasses for reading, always have an extra pair. That's necessary. Of course, your toothbrush, your toothpaste, flashlight, batteries, not with the batteries inside because they can rust. And also, before I forget, you should always switch out, go in and switch out, check every so often, make sure that the foods are not expired. So you can store granola bars, or the little bars, something to keep, especially if you're diabetic and once you're running and that adrenaline is going, it's going to decrease the insulin is going to be overactive and your sugar level is going to drop. So you should have something to eat. You should have some water. Sorry, everybody needs water, a mask, a transistor radio so that you can hear one, and as I said before, batteries. So you have to have the correct size batteries. Always check your batteries to make sure that they're not expired. Your passport, a pad with pencil, just in case. Because when you get flustered, sometimes you can't even think but when you're writing, you can't even, or to speak, so it's good to have a pad and a pen that writes, or a pencil, or markers. Have Sharpies also, so especially like with this, you would put the information in a Sharpie, something that won't be erased. And very important, store small bills in your go bag. $5 bill, the $1 bill, $10, $20. Try not to store large bills, because God forbid, there's no change and ATMs are shut down, and all of this. So always have some to-go money in small increments in that go bag. And those are some of the things you need. You need to have your insurance cards or insurance information, your contacts, you should. So because I also read where there was a gentleman, he did a post, and he was asking folks if they saw a family member of his. He said he's one of the tallest person over in Maui, the town that got raised by the fire. And so he said, he was asking if anybody had seen him. And so, disasters happen without our consent. We pray they never happen where we live. But folks who live in the where there are frequent tornadoes, they also have to prepare their families. So people in Alabama and certain other states, in states where there are a lot of tornadoes, Floridians, and and the coast of the Carolinas, and other islands and places, I'm sure have their disaster preparedness plans. For many of us, like New Yorkers, we probably don't think about it too much. Sometimes in certain areas may get flooded when the rain falls constantly, like if you have a day of rain, basements and drains and catch basins and catchments are usually flooded. But outside of that, we do not have too many disasters. And so we keep praying and trusting that God will protect us. And, the Bible tells us to study the ants, how they store up their nuts, they provide, they gather their food during the summer for the winter months. And so we don't expect emergencies to happen or disasters to happen. The thing is, we know they do happen. We pray they never do, though. But just in case, we should be prepared. At least keep those go bags and keep families informed of who to get in touch with and have that landmark. Like we have our parks here, but if there was a fire, one would not go to the park, right? So, God forbid, and we don't expect, New York doesn't have too many green spaces anyway, so we don't want our green spaces to go, please, Lord. But the thing is that we do have landmarks. You can choose a certain restaurant. We have landmark churches. We have statues. We have like Grand Army Plaza. And and we have certain places. We have a lot of landmarks here in the borough of Brooklyn and in New York as well. The New York City itself. But as I was saying, so choose some place that is close to home where your children would know. But God forbid, if it has to be that you have to get out of Dodge, make sure that you have a place or a person that everyone can be in touch with. Give that person your number. And don't just say, oh, this is going to be our contact person on that day. Speak to the person, ask them, get someone's consent. Will you be our out of town, out of city, out of the area contact? Can everybody call you and make sure that they have everybody's number? Note that in case of an emergency, you don't know, sometimes our phones died. Listen, I was out one day and my phone, I was in a situation, I was in a bind, but God sent help. I had my children that rallied and just kept tabs and made calls for me. And I had good friends, hey Dom, Linville, and Carl. They people buddy system, and those who could came to my rescue. So it's something like that. But you can reach out and say, hey, would you like to be my family's out of town or out of area contact? So that if everyone calls you, and then let them know that just in case, that sometimes, there's some folks who sometimes we don't like to pick up because of scams and everything that happens. We don't like to pick up numbers or answer the phone when we see certain numbers coming in. But we have to learn to say communication is essential. It really is. So say, kids, husband, wife, listen, if your phone goes out of commission and you use a stranger's phone, let the phone ring twice, hang up, and call back and let it ring. That way, when they miss the call, or you can say, let it ring out, hang up, and call back again, right? Because you do want the person to know. And you can tell you're out of state, out of area contact that as well, just in case a family member calls. If when the call comes in, you don't, I'm not saying that has to be the clue, because now, but I'm saying you have to tell what your clue would be. You will have the clue that you give to your family to say, this is how I will pick up this unknown number, right? Or the person will pick up that unknown number. So, and just let's keep praying. Let's keep each other in prayer, and definitely let's pray for the people of Hawaii. And we know that this is really a disaster that they weren't prepared for, that their sirens were down by the time they sent out the message. And this is why we know we have to do due diligence. Sometimes we are laxed in certain areas of our lives, laxed with certain things, and we take things for granted and we take people for granted, but we really shouldn't. Because for my board, my community board, we just lost someone so suddenly, and like we're reeling from that. You know what I mean? So just let's not take anyone or things for granted, but let's do what we have to do. Let's do our due diligence. Let's be prepared. Let's have our families and our loved ones be prepared. And let's keep praying and trusting that God will continue to protect us and keep us safe. And with that, I say, have a wonderful night. Keep Hawaii in prayer. And we know that, they have to rebuild. They've lost. When you've lost loved ones, when you've lost that much, the rebuilding will take quite a while. And I'm grateful. I'm thankful for those who have donated, and those of you who have, to donate clothing for babies, for children. There are those who rally the troops around and gotten waters and juices and snacks and whatever they can find to help others to just go through while when you're in shock, when you go through disasters or urgent emergencies, sometimes it takes a toll on your body. Your mind's trying to catch up with what's happening, and you can be in shock. That's the other thing. And so we thank God also for the medical personnel, the medical teams, medics that are around to assist such persons. So we keep everyone in prayer. We do whatever we have to do for whatever contributions that we'll make, whether it's monetary or by goods, and things, and remember the kids. Sometimes, like we say, if you have a stuffed animal or something, but give them something that will last, something that will matter, something that will help them through this time, this tragic, painful season of their lives. And so with that, I say have a wonderful night, and remember to go to the website, NYC. You could Google it, just Google NYC Emergency Management, if you don't remember anything else that I said. Oh, and I also wanted to say, this is in Bengali, Chinese, English, of course, French, Haitian Creole, Italian, Korean, Polish, Russian, Urdu, and Yiddish. So it's in as many languages as is spoken. In New York, there are over 92. Oh, there are a lot of languages in New York. Oh my goodness. But we thank God for those who are always assisting, those who are always volunteering help. It is always good to volunteer. It's such a great feeling, yeah, just want to say, know that you're loved. We're all loved by God. Sometimes I know it may not seem that way, but we really are. We really are. So let's show love. Let's share love. Let's do what we can to help each other in times of crises. And also when there are no crises around. Alrighty. Have a good night. Take care.